What's going on, everyone? My name is Nick. I'm a barber located in Fort Wayne, Indiana. Um, I just wanted to start a series, a little review channel, because there's a brand that has been up and coming, but not a lot of people seem to talk about it. The brand is Supreme Trimmer. Some of you might have heard about it, some of you probably haven't. But I wanted to start this little series because when I was deciding whether I wanted to purchase Supreme Trimmers products, there wasn't much of any content on YouTube that talked about them, and it made it difficult for me to decide whether it was going to be a good buy or not. You have the CEO of the company who talks very highly of his products, and I thought at first that it was just, something that any business owner would do, is talk highly about their own products. But he finally persuaded me, and I decided to try out a couple of his machines. And I started out with a recharge trimmer and the DarkStar 72 clipper. Now, it took a lot of debating on whether I wanted to buy it because they're pretty affordable. If you're a beginner barber, this is going to be a very affordable brand for you to get. And my main concern was, since it's super affordable, is it going to perform well? And that's where I was afraid to spend some money, because I was like, man, I don't know if it'll be worth the buy. I don't know if I'm going to regret this purchase later. But I decided to take a leap of faith, and I tried out the DarkStar 72 clipper, and that's what this video is going to be about. So the way I'm going to rank this product is based off of battery life, ergonomics, performance, build quality, and value. And these are all going to be ranked out of 5. So since there's 5 categories, the max score that this thing could get, if it has a perfect score, would be 25 points. So let's start with the battery life. Okay. It has an 18,650 milliamp hour lithium battery, and it's stated to be able to run for 3 hours. So you can turn it on and it should be able to last 3 hours before it dies. Now, since this clipper has 3 hours of battery life, I'm going to rank it a 4 out of 5. Reason is because a lot of clippers nowadays are in the 2 to 2.5 hour range. And then you got some clippers like the Stylecraft Instinct that are in the 4-hour range, and then the JRL Ghost and Onyx set are in the 5-hour range. Now, since there's not a lot of clippers that are above 3 hours, or not a lot of clippers that are at 4 or 5 hours, anytime I get a clipper that has at least 4 hours runtime, I'm going to give it a 5 out of 5. Now, 3 hours though, that's still a pretty good runtime. When you start lining people up and using other tools besides the clipper, you just set it right back in the dock and it'll charge again. So as long as you keep on doing that, you won't really have to worry about running out of battery life, especially since 3 hours is more than enough time for a clipper. Now let's talk about ergonomics. I also rank the ergonomics a 4 out of 5. Reason why is because it doesn't have a place to put your thumb in the front. It has the grooves on the back, and your fingers rest in it pretty comfortably. But I like to have clippers that have a thumb groove on the front, similar to how the Babyliss 245s have it, or even the Stylecraft Saber. It's not really a groove, but like it has a little indentation for you to be able to place your thumb towards the top. Don't know if it was designed for the thumb or not, but it's still comfortable nonetheless. But this clipper is very lightweight. It's one of the lightest clippers I have, and because of that, you shouldn't really experience any fatigue. I don't really ever experience it, but I hear a lot of other barbers talk about, oh, that clipper's heavy. I don't want to be holding something so heavy for 8 hours a day if they're going to be cutting all day like that. I never really had that problem, and I've had some days where I've worked like 10, 12 hours, but this is a very comfortable clipper to hold. Next up on the list, we got performance. So this clipper has the Vector motor, the same motor that's inside the Stylecraft Instinct. And it also revs up just like the Instinct does. Listen. And just for reference, I'm going to show you what the Instincts sound like. So the Instincts are a lot louder, but they have the same motor. And I don't know if these companies put a limiter on it, but apparently the motor on the DarkStar 72 can rev up higher than the Instinct can. But I don't have anything to measure how many RPMs it has, so I can't tell you for certain that it's stronger or not than the Instinct. Now, when it comes to RPMs. Now, what I will say, something that I noticed, and I don't know if it's the blade or if it's because of the motor, but it can cut through a lot of hair. It's strong. It's got a lot of torque, and it can definitely mow down a lot of hair. Now, one thing I have noticed is when I have those clients that have a crazy ton of hair, like people who haven't been to the shop in a year, this one might struggle a little bit, but it still gets the job done. Now, I will say this. I did a comparison with the Stylecraft Instinct and with this, and the Instinct feels stronger. It feels like it can mow down the hair a lot easier than this can. And it just feels like this is lagging behind just a little bit compared to the Instinct, but overall, it's still a very strong clipper. And I want to say out of all the clippers I have on my station, this is probably the second strongest clipper. So it's no slouch. The Instinct is a very powerful clipper. So the fact that it's even close to the Instinct, I'm going to give this a 5 out of 5 performance. It fades very well. It does. The gold one comes with a fade blade. I know depending on what color you get, you might get a taper blade. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comments, but I believe that the white and red one come with the taper blade and the black and gold come with the fade blade. Now, it fades good, and I don't struggle to fade with this thing at all. It just cuts. And that's all I can really say. It can cut good. It can fade good. It's got a lot of power to mow down a lot of hair. Not as strong as the Instincts, but stronger than everything else I have. So this thing can cut for sure. So I would give this clipper a 5 out of 5 based off of performance. Next, we got the build quality. So this is where the clipper starts to lag behind. It's made out of plastic. Now, for some of you, that might not be a problem, but a lot of my tools are a premium material. The JRLs are probably the only plastic ones I got. I believe the Tune 45s are metal with rubber, but I'm not entirely sure. All I know is that thing does feel premium. This and literally any other Supreme Trimmer product that I have, it feels cheap. You know, it feels like plastic. It feels like you're buying a budget clipper. And I don't really like that, but at their price point, you can't complain. For all the power that you get in this thing, for something that's supposed to compete with the Instincts, it's a lot cheaper. You pay like $300 for the metal Instincts. I want to say $260 maybe for the plastic Instincts. Now, the plastic Instincts feel more like this, cheaper in hand, lightweight, but you're spending $70 more. Now, it is a stronger clipper, but is it $70 more? Is it worth $70 more than this? Probably not, but it's still not the best feeling clipper. Nah, I prefer to have metal tools. So anytime a company is going to drop a metal clipper or a plastic clipper, like when Instincts or Stylecraft dropped the metal Instincts, I was ready to get the metals instantly. I got rid of my plastic Instincts, gave them to one of the barbers here in the shop, and I bought the metals. So rumor has it, it's not even a rumor. The CEO told me that these DarkStar 72s are going to release in maybe a little less than 2 months with the metal version. And they're going to make improvements to the build quality like the lever. Because the lever sounds cheap, feels cheap, and that's because it is cheap. Now, it is a click lever. I don't know if you can hear that. I'm going to compare it to the Instincts, since this is the clipper that the DarkStar 72 is trying to compete against. Now, I don't have a problem with the click lever. I actually prefer the click lever because I don't want to be one of those barbers who, while he's cutting, he's like eyeballing where he puts the lever. And I know a lot of people say, oh, it doesn't need a click lever. I prefer to have no clicks on my lever. I want to have what you call a floating lever. That way I can be real precise with how I want the clipper to cut. Honestly, I don't have a problem with a click lever. Each individual click on all my tools, they fade into each other well. So I don't have a problem getting out of ball line. I don't have a problem fading into any of the guards. The click lever does it perfectly fine. So I don't have a problem with the click lever. But with this click lever, it does feel cheap. And I'm not a big fan of it. So because of that, I'm going to give this clipper a 3 out of 5 in build quality. Now, when I do get the metal version, I'm going to do another review for that clipper, and I'm going to talk about it the same way I'm talking about this. I'm going to go through all 5 categories and rank it. But I do believe that in 2 months, when I get a hold of that DarkStar 72 Metal Edition, the ranking for the build quality is going to go up. The last thing we're going to talk about is the value. So I mentioned earlier it's $190 to buy the DarkStar 72. So it's one of the more affordable clippers. You know, you got a lot of clippers out there now that are selling for 200 plus, some 300. Some of them even more than that, like 400. I remember when the cordless masters came out, they were expensive. Don't know if they were worth it, but for $190, I do believe that it's worth it because you do get a lot in the box as well. You get not just the clipper, but you get 10 guards, a 0 all the way to a number 8, or a half guard all the way to a number 8. You get a charging stand, 2 chargers. One is like your conventional cable that you would get for most clippers with the Supreme Trimmer design. And then a USB-C charger. You get a bottle of oil, you get a cleaning brush, and you get a USB adapter. So the guards are pretty cool. They have magnets on them. And personally, I'm a big fan of guards with magnets. These guards, I would say, are very similar to the wall premium guards when it comes to style. They look like them. They feel like them. Only thing is, they're magnetic. So if I had to say, I probably would prefer these over the wall premium guards. But I currently am using the Tomb 45 guards. I love those guards. Those things just fade so well into each other. But these are really good quality guards. And you get, like I said, a half guard all the way up to an 8. And you get the charging dock the 2 cables to charge it, the bottle of oil, the brush, and the USB adapter. So for 190 bucks, getting all that, I'm gonna give it a 5 out of 5. That's a lot of value for your buck. So this is all that you get for $190. You get a clipper, 10 guards, charging dock, 2 cables, bottle of oil, USB adapter. So all in all, I'm gonna rank this clipper 21 out of 25. I gave it a 4 for battery life, 3 hours runtime, a 4 for ergonomics because it didn't have that thumb groove. I gave it a 5 on performance because this thing is great when it comes to cutting and fading. I gave it a 3 on build quality because it's plastic and I hate plastic tools. And I gave it a 5 for value because you get a lot of stuff in it. That's just a lot more than what you get for a bunch of other companies besides maybe Stylecraft. So I would give it a perfect score in the value. You can't really beat that. I mean, even with Stylecraft, you're spending almost $300, if not $300 exactly, to get the same amount of stuff. Yeah, sure, their clippers are more premium in material, but other than that, once you get past the material, the clipper or trimmer itself, it's the same thing. It's the same thing. So this clipper is designed to compete with the Stylecraft Plastic Instincts. The reason why I pull out the plastic one is because since they're coming out with the metal one in like 2 months, the metal DarkStar, I'm gonna say this one is designed to compete with this, not the metal edition, but the plastic edition. And for what you get, it's well worth the buy. There you have it. Supreme Trimmer DarkStar 72. Go ahead and grab a pair if you don't already have one. Like I said, it's well worth the buy and it's affordable. So if you don't like it, just resell it. But I guarantee you're gonna like it. And if you don't want a plastic clipper, then just wait 2 months for the metal one. I'm sure the metal one is gonna be improvements on compared to this. So I'm sure the metal one is gonna be better than this. And the CEO told me that it's gonna have more than just outer upgrades. It's gonna have like internal upgrades as well. The lever is gonna improve. And he mentioned that he's going to change the blades. So he said something about a hybrid blade. I'm not sure if that's going to be like a blend between a taper blade and a fade blade, like Stylecraft has their Faper blade, but he will be doing a hybrid blade. So there's going to be a lot of changes, and it's most likely going to bump up the price a little bit more. I'm not entirely sure, but still, for that price range, there's not much that can beat this, if anything at all. So go ahead and grab yourself a pair of Supreme Trimmer DarkStar 72s. You will not regret it. I promise.